Okay, so now we are starting with a pre-image point and ending with a new image point. We start with p at -5, 1, and p prime is now at -5, -1. Okay, so let's describe perhaps what's happening here. So we go from p, which is at -5, 1, to p prime, which is -5, -1. Now, let's use some context clues. Up here, when we reflected over the y-axis, the x's changed. Here, the y's are changing. So, because the y's change, y's become negative. This tells me that we are reflecting across the x-axis, okay? So, it's kind of like opposites. So if you reflect across the y-axis, all right, think the y's wouldn't change. If we go from here to here, y's don't change, but the x's become negative. If we reflect across the x-axis, the x's wouldn't change. They would just flip the y's, okay? So the y's would become negative. Now, what's different about this next problem is it says, well, what's the translation that maps point P to point P prime? Well, let's look. If I am going from -5, 1 to -5, -1, all right, x's don't change, so it doesn't move to the left or right any. And we go from a +1 on the y to a -1 on the x. That means I go from 1 to 0 to -1. So it moves down by 2. Okay? 1 minus 2 is -1. Cool? All right, let's practice making some reflections. So, I have the point W at -6, 3. And I want to reflect that over the x-axis. So that's this guy, the horizontal. So I'm just looking, and I see, okay, well, W is 3 away from that x-axis. So I'm going to go 3 away in the opposite direction and write W prime there. Whoops. Let's make that smaller. Perfect. Okay, and then just to get in a good habit, let's write where that coordinate is. So once again, look, x-axis, x's don't change, y's just become negative. Okay, now we've got to reflect x at 4, 2. Here's that x value at 4, 2. Over the line, y equals 1. Now, let's use that Hoy-Vux hint. When I have y equals, it means I have a horizontal line. So it's going to be y equals 1. I'm going to have a horizontal line at y equals 1. Okay? So, draw that line in. We'll get rid of that one so we're not confused. Here is y equals 1. Once again, on the y-axis, it's at the point 1, 0, 1. On the y-axis, it's a horizontal line, y equals 1. Okay? X is 1 away from y equals 1. So x prime is going to be 1 away in the opposite direction. And that is at the point 4, 0. Next up, we've got the point y at 0, -3. We'll get rid of that line of reflection. We are done with it. That was for x. Let's look at what we're reflecting for y. So y is reflecting over the line x equals -4. So here we're going to use the VUX portion. Bring this down here. X equals -4. That means we're going to have a vertical line at -4 on the x-axis. Here is x equals -4. Okay? Well, I see that y is about 1, 2, 3, 4 away from that line. So I'm going to go 4 away in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's y prime. And y prime is at the point, oops, I didn't label correctly, x prime. Y prime is at the point -8, comma, -3. Okay? So, last one. We are going to reflect z at 2, 5 over the line y equals x. Now, this is the big one. Y equals x. We gotta really think back to Algebra 1, really think back to when we did parallel and perpendicular slopes and we graphed our lines. This is y equals 1x plus 0. Meaning this is in the form y equals mx plus b. Our m, which is our slope, is 1. Our b, which is our y-intercept, is 0. So that means I start at 0, I go up 1 and over 1. Rise, run, 1, run. And I form this diagonal line that goes straight through, corner to corner. There's y equals x. Okay? So, we're going to write a little trick-a-rooney for y equals x. Okay, here's our trick. When, and just when we're reflecting over the line y equals x. Alrighty. If I have the point z at 2, 5, z prime will become 5, 2. All we have to do is flip-flop our x and y coordinates. Okay? So, if that was z, z prime will be at this point right here. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, I can't really picture that. Okay, think about if we folded, oh, whoops, I'm looking at the wrong one. This is good. Think about if we folded down the middle here. Okay, and I'll get rid of everything else, just for now. Whoops, not that. Just this stuff right here. Imagine we folded this piece of paper, paper being in air quotes, down this dotted line, okay? If you folded this corner all the way over to this corner, all right, and the crease was y equals x, all right, these z's would end up right on top of each other, which means we perfectly reflected them, okay? So, I'll bring everything back. That's how we reflect over the line y equals x, okay? So, let's look at this guy. Describe the transformation that maps E, F, G, H onto E prime, F prime, G prime, H prime. Okay, so here we have to find our line of reflection. So if I am looking at H and G and E and F and they're being reflected to their primes, okay, I'm going to look for that even distribution, the line in which H would be equally as far away from it as H prime would be, okay? So I see that there's 2 spaces in between h and h prime. I'm going to cut 2 in half, and I'm going to say, okay, well then 1 space is how far away they are from the line of reflection. We can test this with E as well. I see E and E prime are 6 spaces apart from each other. Cut that in half because we need equal parts. We get 3 on each side. Okay? So, this being our x-axis, we can describe this transformation as a reflection across the x-axis. Okay? Wonderful. Let's see, I'm trying to decide which one of these I want us to do. Okay, I want you all to try this one on your own, okay? Mainly, big concern is pick those points, make sure they all fit on your coordinate square, okay? You are going to draw an x and a y axis, so let's do that together. Here's our x, here's our y. First task is to reflect them over the x-axis. And then you're going to translate. So we're going to start sliding 3 units to the right and 2 units up, okay? It asks you to provide the coordinates for the vertices of the final image, okay? Just make sure you're properly labeling your points, okay? Okie dokie. Next one. This is kind of more of a creative task. That's okay though. It's asking us to basically fill in the other 4 corners of this quilt, okay? So if I reflected this piece over line P, okay, I would see that there would be a black triangle here to reflect the black triangle that was occurring on the given section. Another triangle here with a black dot, a blank triangle here, and then a lined triangle here, okay? You are then going to reflect over this way, and you can reflect this side over here. And then these should be reflecting each other. We'll see if you guys can figure that one out, okay? So, you do, and you also do this one, okay? So, complete those, see how you do, make sure you hold on to any questions you might have once you tried them, and come back for our final bit